Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 8 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine, where our campaign, the fighting is spreading to Djalla, the feral world, where our new Space Marine Dreadnought is taking to the field to defend some important totems to the Emperor. Hello, I'm Mike and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you issue 88 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine today. This comes with the third and final sprue for our Redemptor Dreadnought, so if you'd like to see it in action, you can skip ahead to today's battle report, but we'll have a look through the issue first. First up is some more backstory of some notable space wolves. So first up we have Aryak Rockfist, or known as the Anvil of Fenris. He was originally an Iron Father, effectively the equivalent of a Tech Marine to the space wolves. But after proving himself in combat against some Fenrisian Kraken spawn, Logan decided that he would be much more useful on the battlefield. So he became Logan Grimnar's champion, and he wields Foehammer, a sort of oversized thunder hammer. And then we have Harald Deathwolf, the Lord of the Wolfkin. Here is pictured riding his wolf Icefang into battle and wielding Glacius, the Thunder Axe. And then more background on the Tyranids, the various weapons of the swarm. So that even though some Tyranids may be simple constructs, their weaponry is specifically designed to be especially deadly to other beings of the galaxy. Here you can see some of the various bioweapons. So we have the Flesh Borer, the Devourer and the Spine Fist, which the smaller termagants would carry. And then some of the melee weapons, including the very deadly Bone Sword and the Scything Talon. And here we have Phase 5 of Abolis and Lyrac. So this is the sort of final phase. Typhus has successfully completed his ritual, and even though he is wounded in combat by a Skitarii Marshal on Metallica, he eventually succeeds in subsuming the world with pox and plague. And Be'lakor is successful in effectively teleporting the entire planet of Colossus away into the warp, denying House Raven its homeworld. So even though eventually Imperial forces reclaimed the system, it was effectively completely ruined. A lot of the inhabitants reduced to diseased refugees. House Raven lost its homeworld obviously, and Metallica is heavily damaged. And now we have a short story from the perspective of a Dreadnought pilot. So this goes over the process of awakening a Dreadnought. Often Dreadnought pilots are kept asleep until they're needed, because obviously they're so heavily wounded. And it goes over the process by which the pilot's sarcophagus is attached to the Dreadnought frame and geared up for battle. And eventually you can see the battle from the Dreadnought pilot's perspective. Then some background on Terra itself, the homeworld of humanity and the homeworld of the Imperium. And you can see here an aerial view of the Imperial Palace. It effectively covers an entire mountain range of what we would know as the Himalayas. It was once staggeringly beautiful, but after the events of the Horus Heresy, it was effectively destroyed and has since been repurposed to power a galactic crusade to reclaim the galaxy. And it notes here that even Terra isn't safe from the alien threats, as gene sealer cults rose up in the Nord-Afric conclaves. Luckily that was put down by Trajan Valorous, the leader of the Custodian Guard, and is also one of the High Lords of Terra. And below that it goes over the various levels of defence that are around Terra. It's the most heavily defended world in the Imperium. There are entire fleets dedicated to its defence. And then we have the painting guide for the Redemptor Dreadnought, so it's fairly similar to the other Ultramarines, although it's starting with a base of black rather than blue, because a lot of the machinery is a mixture of black and silver, just to break it up, make it look a bit more interesting. Otherwise it's fairly simple to paint. Really the only finicky details are going to be the details on the coffin itself, especially if you fixed the armour plate in position, although I suppose you don't really need to bother painting it in that case. So as always, just take your time with all the details and it'll look pretty good when it's done. And there you can see it there, and it does show how some of the parts are able to articulate as well. So I'll hand you over to Will, and he'll take us into today's game.
So we're straight on to our game for this issue. Obviously we've got the rules for the Redemptor Dreadnought, issue 86, so you can go back and check those if you want to see that. But this time we're on the planet of Djalla, the second planet in the Ramasus system, and it is a feral world, mostly covered in jungles with dangerous flora and fauna, and it's populated by hardy tribes that fight amongst themselves but also worship the Emperor, and this great faith has helped them resist the effects of the stilling. Unfortunately, the Necron Destroyer cults have already purged about 2/3 of the planet and are hoping to finish the job and destroy the symbols of the Imperial faith, whereas a small Imperial force has been dispatched to the planet to defend the holy sites in order to reinforce the locals. So we have our next campaign mission, The Emperor Protects, which is a 75 power mission. Playing on 4 battle maps as usual. We've got 5 objectives, 1 in the centre and then 1 kind of in the centre of each quadrant basically. And then deployment zones that are 9 inches away along a strange diagonal line from the objectives in no man's land. Much easier to see it on the picture than it is to try to explain it. Primary objective is capture and control, but another variation of objective with the same name. This time it's 10 victory points for holding 2 or more objectives, 3 or more objectives, or more than the opponent, up to a maximum of 30 per turn, not scored in the first battle round. And the Necron player must choose the Destroy the Idols objective, which gives 3 victory points every time the following action is completed. 1 unit can start to do it at the end of the movement phase if it's in range of an objective marker, and then it's completed at the end of your next command phase. It doesn't require no enemy units on the objective though, so that's worth pointing out, but it can only be performed once on each objective marker. In other words, there's 1 idol in each place, so they all have to be destroyed. But anyway, that is it. We will show you our armies and get straight into the game. So here is 75 power of Necrons. We're led by the Catacomb Command Barge, who's obviously the Warlord and will have Thrall of the Silent King to increase its aura ranges. Also accompanied by the Destroyer Lord and the Hexmark Destroyer. Brought the whole Destroyer contingent because that seemed appropriate given the narrative. And the Chronomancer, who will have the Photonic Transubjector Arcana to ignore the first fail save per turn. Got 2 units of Warriors and 1 of Mortals for the mandatory 3 troops unit. Plus the Scorpic Destroyers, the Locust Heavy Destroyer, the Canoptic Plasma Sight, the Canoptic Spider, 2 units of 3 Canoptic Scarabs, 3 Tomb Blades, the Trarch Stalker with the Heat Ray because it's good against Dreadnoughts, and the 3 Wraiths with Transdimensional Beamers. And for my campaign reward, I'm just going to do the one I always do, which is to give the Warriors with Gauss Flayers automatically wounding on 6s to hit. Because we start really close, so the advancing isn't going to help very much, and the one from the last game is completely useless. And here is our Imperial force.
So we're going for a mixture of Marines and AdMech, and we've got Calgar with the Victrix Guard, and Calgar will be my Warlord obviously. And I've got a Lieutenant who is going to have the Zivosian Shroud, just to have a bit more variety in my campaign rewards. It's a 5+ chance to ignore damage. I've got the usual AdMech contingent of the Dominus, the Skitarii Rangers and the Cataphrone Destroyers, and then for the Marines we've got 2 squads of 5 Assault Intercessors, 3 Aggressors, 3 Eliminators, 5 Infiltrators, 3 Suppressors, and the new Dreadnought with the Macroplasma Incinerator, the Storm Bolters, the Onslaught Gatling Cannon, and the Missile Launcher, obviously.
So here is the battlefield on the feral world of Djalla. You can see the 5 objectives, well you can see 4 of them, one of them is underneath the command barge on the bottom left there. We've gone with the measurements on the map in the magazine rather than the picture, so the objectives 1 through 4 are not actually in the middle of each quadrant, they're considerably closer to the middle because the measurements do not match the locations. So looking at my deployment first, this is the kind of southern end as it were. We've got the Wraiths out on the extreme flank, there's a unit of Scarabs, the unit of Tomb Blades, Warriors with Gauss Reapers, and they're all overseen by the Chronomancer, who's just in the corner of that building there. You can also see there's a space to the left of the Warriors and to the Mortals. In the middle are the Immortals, the other unit of Warriors forming the front line, with the Command Barge immediately behind them, and immediately behind that is the Trarch Stalker. The Locust Heavy Destroyer is down behind this blue container, hiding, and then the Canoptic Spider and 1 unit of Scarabs behind the pink container. And over on the other side of that box is the rest of the destroyers with the Lord, the Scorpex, and the Hexmark and the Plasma Sight. And the reason there was that hole that I showed you earlier was because the Scorpic destroyers, from the bonus for the Imperium being Ascendant, I was allowed to redeploy 1 unit, and I redeployed the Scorpic destroyers from that position over to this side. And then the Imperial deployment, which I can get in all in one shot.
Yeah, I've kind of deployed away from the edge of the deployment zone because I've got a mostly shooting army and I don't want to get charged straight away. So, taking advantage of this building, I've got the Infiltrators deployed slightly ahead. I've got a unit of Assault Intercessors and the Victrix Guard in the building. The Suppressors and the Aggressors just behind it with Calgar in front. Behind the Black Cargo container, I've got the Lieutenant and another unit of Assault Intercessors. And then by the pipe towards the back is all the AdMech stuff with the Eliminators and the Dreadnought.
I had to pick the Destroy the Idol secondary objective.
My secondary is going to be Attrition.
And as I mentioned, the current state of the campaign, the Imperium are Ascendant, so I've already mentioned what the Necron bonus was, to redeploy a unit. The Imperial bonus is pick a unit in the shooting phase, and that unit can reroll hit rolls and wound rolls once per game. Nothing in Strategic Reserve, obviously, so we start with the maximum command points, the Imperium starting with 14 because of Calgar, and then we're just rolling off to see who gets the first turn. 3 for the Necrons, try again.
I want the roll-off. I think I'll make the Necrons go first, because most of my shooting is going to be out of range, I think.
So we will be on to Necrons turn 1. In the first battle round, I have the Space Marine the Devastator Doctrine. I've picked Protocol of the Eternal Guardian, and since my entire army is likely to move, I'll pick the directive for set to defend or hold steady if charged.
I think I'll pick Shroud Psalm as my Canticle. Not going to pick a Doctrina.
So I've moved everything, looking around Objective 4 first. We've got the Scarabs advanced up to behind that wall there to hopefully strike at something next turn. The Wraiths have moved up. They're going to do the action at the end of the movement phase to destroy the idol on Objective 4. The Warriors here also advanced because they won't be in range. Tomb Blades and the Chronomarks are following up normally. In the centre, the command barge is looking dramatic by sitting on top of this building. The Immortals, a couple of them have made it through the building underneath that you can just about see. Triarch Stalker moving up behind the Warriors who've moved up towards the middle of the board. And the rest, there's one unit of Scarabs going to stay back. They'll probably do the action on Objective 3 eventually, although that one's not really a priority at the moment because it's not threatened. The Heavy Destroyer couldn't really get in range of anything, so it's just moved to behind this box, so it's to remain hiding rather than give away victory points for attrition. The Spider following the Destroyers into the building here near Objective 1, with the two characters behind them. Go on to the shooting phase. A lot of the stuff's only really in range of the Victrix Guard, or can only see them, so we're going to start with the Triarch Stalker shooting at them so that everything else will hopefully get rerolled ones to hit.
I'm going to use Transient Physiology on them.
The Stalker has 2 shots with the Focused Heat Ray on 3s, they both hit, but they will be winning on 4s, so nothing. Shooting from the Warriors in the middle, the 2 Destroyer characters and the Tomb Blades managed to do 2 wounds to a Victrix Guard. I had to spend a command point to reroll a save, but got it back from Calgar. So next we'll do the command barge, it's going to be shooting at the Suppressors with 3 shots on 2s. I'll spend a command point to reroll that because I've got plenty. So getting 3 hits and winning on 3s. 2.
6s. Oh, we made one.
Oh, so D3 damage. No, 2. So it kills the Suppressor. And lastly, the Immortals failed to do any further damage to the Victrix Guard, but they did pick off a Skitarii Ranger with someone who couldn't see anything else. But that will be the end of my turn, because I'm not going to declare a charge with the Destroyers. My secondary doesn't score victory points yet, so on to Imperium turn 1.
So I'm going to be a bit cautious in my movement. Or in the command phase, Calgar's ability is going on the Suppressors. I'm also spending 2 command points for Data Blessed Auto 7 to put Benediction of the Omnissiah on the Cataphrons. And then movement. With Calgar, he's just moved out normally. He's going to try a long charge, I suppose. Aggressors have advanced so they can get in flamer range. In the building, the Victrix Guard have moved up to be near Calgar to stop getting shot at. The Infiltrators and the Assault Intercessors have sort of swapped places. The Assault Intercessors are closer to the wall if the Destroyers decide to come out. Suppressors and the Lieutenant have moved behind the box while those Assault Intercessors advance. It's only got 1, but that gets them out towards the Necron forces near Objective 4. Cataphrons and the Dreadnought have moved forward, as has the Tick Priest Dominus, while the Rangers and the Eliminators have stayed where they are. I'm going to start with the aggressors shooting. Just going to flame all those warriors in the middle. So 66 flaming shots, 23 hits, wounding on 4s.
That was 15 wounds, so I've got 15 4+ saves because they're all out of cover. 6 dead. Reanimation, get 4 back and a reroll, 4.
I'm going to do the Suppressors next. They're going to shoot the Tomb Blades because they'll make full use of Calgar's ability and they're relatively easy to kill for attrition. 6 shots on 4s, rerolling everything. They all hit. Wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s because of the Lieutenant. 5 wounds at -1.
Yeah, -2 because of Devastator Doctrine actually, so these are all just 5+ saves. Oh, we made 3, so we can keep 1. Reanimation, get 1 back. The Skitarii Rangers killed 2 more warriors and used up the Chronomancers, ignoring a failed save per turn.
The Eliminators are going to try and snipe the Chronomancer with mortis rounds. On 2s, they get 1 hit. Wounded.
He has a 4+ invulnerable, which he failed, so he takes 2 damage.
Calgar and the Infiltrators took some pot shots at warriors but didn't do anything. So do the Cataphrons next, and they're going to shoot at the Immortals, because there are some of those out in the open. 5 shots from the Grav. Gets 3 hits and 3 wounds at -3.
So there are 2 in cover who will have 5s. They both die, and then somebody outside has a 6. No, that's 3 dead so far.
The Phosphor has 1 at that range, you never know, it hit. It didn't. And then 2d6 plasma shots for 10. Ooh, 4s. Oh, get a reroll from Benediction. That's 9 hits. I should have shot at something else. 3s. Plus a reroll from Benediction. It's 5 wounds at -3.
Dealing a lot of 6s. Well, not 2, but no, they're destroyed.
So I've got the Dreadnought next. I'm going to put the Storm Bolters into this unit of warriors in the middle, whereas the Plasma, the regular Onslaught Gatling Cannon and the Missile Launcher are going to go into the other unit of warriors. And I'm not going to supercharge the Plasma. I'll roll for the Storm Bolters first. So it's 8 shots on 3s. Wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, because the Dreadnought is a core unit, so it needs it apparently. Hey, you got a wound.
With 4+. They, 1 dead, and that's all for shooting at those warriors, and it doesn't come back yet, but rerolls 1s, no, kills them.
Other unit of warriors got the Macro Plasma Incinerator, has d6 shots, but it's a blast weapon, so it's a minimum of 3. I get 6 shots anyway. Hitting on 3s. You know what, I will command point reroll one of those, because I've got loads. And I'd rather kill 4 warriors. Yeah, 4 hits. On 2s, rerolling 1s, because of the lieutenant. Yep.
The -3 or 4, so that will go straight through.
And then we've got the Icarus rocket pod, which is D3 shots, but it's a blast weapon, so it's 3 shots on 3s once again. 3s rerolling 1s. 1 wound at -2, because of devastated up.
So a 6. Nope, that's a 5 dead.
8 shots from the onslaught Gatling cannon on 3s. And 3s reroll 1s. So, reroll 4 at -1. Sorry, -2.
So that's also a heavy weapon.
Yep.
So 6s again. Well, I made 2 of those at least, so
that's 7 dead.
7 total. Reanimating. Oh, only 1 and 2 1s to reroll. Just 1. Ooh. And then the Tech Priest Dominus fired at those warriors as well, but didn't do anything. So that's the end of shooting.
On the charge phase, Calgar's going to try and charge. I think he's in range of those warriors.
And I'll actually Overwatch, because 10 shots on 5 because of Eternal Guardian. Could do a wound or 2, and I'm not going to use the set to defend because he will obliterate them if he gets into range regardless. I only got 2 hits, but they were both 6s, and these warriors have the campaign reward for auto wounds on 6s to hit, so that is 2 wounds.
Calgar's not in cover, so 3s. He took a wound.
Aha.
Down to 7. Then his charge roll needs to be a good roll. Ooh, an 8 is just not enough, so he has to re-roll it. Ugh. No.
And then we've got 2 morale tests to make for both units of warriors. The one in the middle I'm going to roll, but the one on objective 4 I'm going to spend 2 command points for insane bravery to keep them there automatically, because there's a reasonable chance more would run away. And then the other unit will fail on the 6 because it lost 5. Oh, 5. So if that had been the other unit, we would have been rolling combat attrition, but we're good. With that, we're at the end of the turn and the end of the battle round, where the Imperium score 4 victory points for attrition, having killed 1 unit to the Necrons 0. And then we'll be on to Necrons turn 2. So for battle round 2, I've got Protocol of the Vengeful Stars with extra AP on 6s to wound with shooting. The Marines are into the Tactical Doctrine.
And I'm going to pick Litany of the Electromancer to be active. That's the -1 to hit in melee if the Wraiths decide to come and charge the Cataphrons. I'll choose +1 ballistic skill, +1 weapon skill for Divine Doctrine.
So in my command phase, the Chronometron and the My Will Be Done went on the Warriors of Chaos Flayers in the centre. They've moved up further forward on Objective 5, and the command barges come down from the roof, followed by the Triarch Stalker. On the right hand side, the Wraiths have zoomed up to go and make a nuisance of themselves, the Scarabs going round the back, sort of. Remaining warriors with the Chronomancer moving a little bit further forward, and the Tomb Blades behind them as well. On Objective 3, the Scarabs have just shuffled and the Heavy Destroyer has nosed out so it can see a couple of things. And then the Scorpic Destroyers and the Lord, followed by the Hexmark Destroyer, have moved on to Objective 1. And the Canoptic Spider is in the building and it's going to do the action on Objective 1 through the wall. And at the end of my command phase, I scored 33 victory points, 30 for holding the maximum possible number of objectives, and 3 for completing action on Objective 4. So on to shooting, we'll start with the Triarch Stalker. It's going to shoot at the Cataphron Destroyers. 2 shots on 3s, they both hit. They wound on 3s, they both wound.
6+ invulnerables. No.
Not within half range, so d6 damage each. The first one does 5 and kills 1, and the second one does 1 and doesn't kill 1. Wraiths at them as well on 4s, oh, they all hit. They will be winning on 5s though, but I won't use that one. Get 1 wound.
Nope.
That kills the wounded one. Chronomancer will try and get the last Cataphron. He was a 1 to hit, but he does reroll because the Triarch Stalker shot at them, so he does. He wounds on a 3. It's a wound.
Nope.
It's d3+3 damage, so it kills it. So the Cataphrons are gone, and the warriors over here killed a Assault Intercessor. Then we'll do the Locust Heavy Destroyer. It's going to shoot at the aggressors.
I'm going to use Transhuman Physiology on them.
Not getting that command point back, so we've just got the 1 shot on a 3, which hit, and wounding on a 4. Did not, and he's not within range of the Scorpion Lord's reroll. The 2 Destroyer characters, the 5 warriors in the middle, and the Tomb Blades killed off 2 of the aggressors. So finally I've just got the Command Barge, which is going to shoot at the Suppressors again. 2, I only managed 1 hit. I haven't actually used a reroll, so I will reroll 1. Okay, and 3s. 1. -3, but you can cover.
5s. Nope.
D3. No, only 1 damage. So on to the charge phase. We'll do the Wraiths first. They're going to charge those Assault Intercessors on Objective 2. So the Wraiths easily made it in over here. And then the Scorpic Destroyers charged the Assault Intercessors behind that wall. They did have to re-roll because they only rolled a 3 and they couldn't stand in the middle of the wall, so that actually wasn't enough. And the Scorpic Lord charged the Aggressor Sergeant, who overwatched but didn't do any wounds. Start the fight phase. I'm going to use the Plasma Sight on the Scorpic Destroyers. So yeah, I didn't roll a 1, so nobody dies. Because I'm going to pick the Scorpic Destroyers to attack first against the Assault Intercessors.
I'll use Transhuman on them.
So the big sword, they all hit. They're winning on 4s. Oh, it's still 3, so he still kills 3 of them anyway. And the other ones get 8 hits. And we're on 4s, rerolling 1s. 6 wounds. Oh, they would have set to defend, but they roll the 6 to live. No, they didn't.
I'm spending 2 to interrupt with the assault assessors, and I'm going to spend another for G-Wrought Might, and I got one of them back. 17 attacks on 3s, 6 is auto wound. There's 4 auto wounds, 9 hits, wounding on 5s, you're on 1s. Roll the 1, all into wounds. That's 9 and -1.
So 9 4+ saves. Oh dear, failed 6, so lose 2 wraiths. Is it 2 wraiths dead? Anything coming back? No, not. And the Destroyer Lord pasted that aggressive sergeant, and the wraith killed 1 assault intercessor in return. And the destroyers did consolidate into the infiltrators, so they did get to attack back, but they didn't manage to do any wounds. So that will be the end of Necron's turn 2, and we'll be on to Imperium turn 2.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to concede at this point. I might be able to take objective 5 and stop the Necrons holding objective 4. They get another 10 plus their objective, and I think at that point their lead will be too great and I won't really have anything left. The Dreadnought can't really get to objective 4 either because the building's in the way.
So fair enough, yeah, we'll think that's actually going to be a Necron victory, yeah, straight away. So the Necron victory, having a look at the campaign reward for Djalla, the Necrons in the first battle round will gain the benefits of light cover. If I pick that one, the Imperium, if you're interested, would have been able to use the command reroll for free once per game. But yeah, with that, we'll recap the game and the issue for you now. That was the game for issue 88 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How did you think that one went?
Pretty badly all round, to be honest. I think I deployed badly, played badly. I think I made a mistake making you go first. So I think even some of the choices for my army weren't great. Like the infiltrators and the eliminators really didn't suit this kind of deployment where we start really close to each other. Probably should have kept the Dreadnought with Calgar if I was going to take both of them, so that there's a big distraction in the middle and they could hopefully help contest 2 other objectives.
If Calgar had got into the middle, then I still would have had quite a difficulty to remove him again, but he's only 1 model, so he can only hold 1 objective at a time.
The main reason I made you go first was I was a bit worried about getting charged straight away, and that's also why I deployed fairly conservatively at the back, but I think in the end that just meant I was too passive and was relying too much on my range damage in the first turn, and it probably would have been better to go first and get some shots off.
Yeah, by going first it meant I was able to advance onto all the objectives, and so because of the slightly different version of the victory conditions, you only had 1 objective and got no points. And then I probably would have got another 30 unless you managed to do a lot of damage to me in your second turn. So I would have been 60-something to
8.
Yeah, 8.
It wouldn't have been worth carrying on.
I still think if you'd gone first with the deployment you had, you wouldn't have been able to advance and take many of the objectives, but you would at least have damaged some stuff that was otherwise able to get closer to you without taking any injuries.
Yeah, but I think if I'd gone first, I probably would have been able to manoeuvre the suppressors to shoot at the destroyers and stuff like that. Yeah, and perhaps I overestimated how aggressive you would be with your melee units as well, and I probably should have deployed up against the line rather than further back.
Yeah, I think with the Dreadnought, it is quite scary, but because it was at the back behind other things, I just figured I'd deal with it later in the game, put some wraiths in front of it, which it would have to fight through, and keep it away from things I didn't want it to be near, like the destroyers. Perhaps if it had been on front line and stomping towards my lines, I would have been forced to divert attention away from some other things. If Calgar and the Dreadnought had been in the same place, I wouldn't have been able to ignore them, and I probably would have struggled to deal with them. I did bring quite a lot of high damage weaponry, but because the Dreadnought was at the back, I mostly shot it at other things instead.
I know, I don't think they're actually that tough in 9th. I know it's got -1 damage or anything, but you've got things like the Chronomancer with Techno-Oracular targeting that will just do a ton of damage to it in one go.
Yeah, it doesn't have an invulnerable save.
And it's only got a 3+ base as well, so it's going to get chipped away quite easily.
I'm reasonably confident if you didn't damage any of my shooting, then I would have been able to get rid of it. The question would have been how much would it have taken down, and how much of a distraction would it have been? Because it does have quite a lot of shooting. Obviously you went for the Macroplasma Incinerator because it's good against Necrons, but you can also give it the giant Gatling cannon, which is really good at mowing down light troops.
Yeah, I already have one from Conquest with the heavy Gatling cannon, so wanted a slightly different weapon. Yeah, I did have it set up as more of a fire support than a melee version, but it's still reasonably good in melee.
Well, it's the high damage that makes it scary in melee, and it's quite scary to destroyers. If it charges destroyers, they're going to be in trouble. Yes, it only has 5 attacks, so it can make a mistake, but with a couple of command points and some characters nearby, you can mitigate that to some extent. It's more of a threat factor as much as anything else. It's got an 8-inch move, so it can move quite quickly, and because it's a core unit, keeping it near Calgar, Lieutenant Captain, benefits it quite substantially.
There's a stratagem that works on it as well that effectively turns it into a captain or a lieutenant, which unfortunately we don't get, so it's quite a good support unit. And there being a vehicle that's a core unit is pretty rare in 9th, and to be honest, the Dreadnoughts are still really good in 10th. I think they're probably even better because their toughness is increased.
It is a nice addition to the Space Marine collection from the magazine, I would say, because again we're in the 10 bonus issues that weren't originally going to be part of it, so it does add something that didn't exist before.
Yeah, it's a nice heavy unit, heavy melee front line unit, which I didn't use it as.
Yeah, and I mean, I do like the Redemptor Dreadnought models. They're a good upgrade of the really old school Dreadnoughts. I mean, they have knees for a start, so they look like they're a bit more practical walking around, and they're suitably large, imposing things.
Yeah, and I guess it's quite a boxy shape, so it's not actually that difficult to hide it behind things. It doesn't have bits sticking out that can be seen from miles away.
And this is, of course, the full multi-part kit as well. It's not the easy to build one,
Yeah,
which
and
is a nice bonus.
Pretty good value for money as well. You got
Yeah.
it across 3 issues, so that's still maybe 2/3 of the price.
Yeah, so it's good value if you can get hold of these 3 issues. But otherwise, I think that's probably it for this issue. So only 2 to go. So do subscribe if you want to see those. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video. We've been the Tabletop Donkey, then we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.